3 lesbian love stories for a magical Christmas night. The snow fell like whispered secrets over Manhattan's glittering skyline, blanketing Central Park in a hush that swallowed the city's endless hum. It was Christmas Eve, and the air carried the sharp bite of pine from street vendors' wreaths mixed with the warm caramel scent of roasted chestnuts. Alex Rivera, 32, a rising star chef at a trendy Soho bistro, pushed through the revolving doors of her walk-up apartment building on the Upper West Side, her cheeks flushed from the cold, her dark curls frizzing under a knit beanie. Her hands, callous from years of wielding knives and tossing dough, clutched a paper bag heavy with ingredients for tomorrow's feast: oysters, fresh figs, a bottle of aged bourbon. But her mind wasn't on the menu. It was on Jordan Hale, the woman who'd walked out 6 months ago, leaving behind a note that read like a recipe for heartbreak. "I need space to breathe." Alex's breath caught in her throat, a ragged sigh escaping as she climbed the creaky stairs, the wood groaning under her boots like an old friend's reluctant confession. The hallway light flickered, casting shadows that danced like ghosts of laughter they'd once shared. Late nights chopping garlic while Jordan grated papers at the kitchen table, her glasses slipping down her nose, her laughter bubbling like champagne. Jordan, 30, an elementary school teacher with a voice that could soothe a storm, had been Alex's anchor in the chaos of New York dreams. They'd met at a farmer's market 3 years back. Alex sampling her homemade salsa, Jordan buying apples for her class's pie project. One stolen glance, a shared bite, and the spark ignited into a fire that burned bright until it didn't. Tonight, though, the universe, or maybe just a glitch in the holiday magic, had other plans. Alex fumbled her keys at the door, the bag slipping from her grip. Oysters rolled across the faded runner, one cracking open against the baseboard, its briny scent rising like a siren's call. "Damn it," she muttered, dropping to her knees, the cold floor seeping through her jeans. That's when the door across the hall cracked open, and there she was, Jordan, in an oversized sweater that smelled faintly of vanilla candles and regret, her auburn hair loose, eyes wide with the shock of recognition. The air between them thickened, heavy with unsaid words, the distant chime of a neighbor's carolers filtering up like a mocking serenade. "Alex." Jordan's voice was a whisper, cracked at the edges, her hand hovering on the doorknob as if deciding whether to pull it shut. The pause stretched, electric, the kind that hums in your veins. Alex looked up, her heart slamming against her ribs like a mallet on raw steak. "Jordan, what the hell are you doing here?" The words tumbled out sharper than intended, laced with the ache she buried under shifts in solitude. Jordan's lips parted, a soft exhale fogging the air, her fingers trembling as she knelt too, reaching for the spilled bag. Their hands brushed, once, twice, skin warm against the chill, sending a jolt up Alex's arm, memories flooding back. Tangled sheets, coffee breath kisses at dawn, the way Jordan's sigh against her neck felt like home. I moved back last week," Jordan said, her voice gaining strength, though her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Sublet fell through in Brooklyn. Needed somewhere familiar." She scooped up a fig, its purple skin splitting under her thumb, juice staining her fingers like old blood. Alex watched, transfixed, the scent of the fruit mingling with Jordan's shampoo. Lavender, always lavender. The hallway felt smaller, the walls closing in with the weight of what they'd lost. Arguments over Alex's endless hours, Jordan's fear of fading into the background of a life too loud for love. "Familiar," Alex echoed, bitterness curling her tongue. "Like this building? Or like us?" The question hung raw, the snow outside tapping the window like impatient fingers. Jordan's gaze dropped, then lifted, fierce and vulnerable. "Both. God, Alex, I've missed you. Every damn day." The confession landed like a punch, stealing Alex's breath. She wanted to rage, to demand why now, on this night when the city pulsed with forced joy and empty promises. But instead her hand found Jordan's cheek, thumb tracing the familiar curve, feeling the heat of tears she hadn't wiped away. The touch ignited something dormant, a spark in the frost. From down the street, a saxophonist's lonely rendition of Silent Night wailed through the night, notes curling like smoke. "Come inside," Alex said finally, her voice rough, pulling Jordan to her feet. The door clicked shut behind them, sealing in the chaos of second chances, as the first story of the night unfolded under the watchful eyes of falling stars. Meanwhile, across town in the village, where fairy lights strung like veins through the crooked streets, Sam Patel nursed a double shift at Mount Sinai, her scrubs wrinkled, her black hair pinned in a hasty bun that had given up hours ago. 28, a nurse with hands steady as a surgeon's but a heart that fluttered like a trapped bird. Sam wiped sweat from her brow, the metallic tang of blood lingering on her skin despite the scrub down. The holiday rush had hit hard, drunk Santas with lacerations, families fracturing under tinsel stress. But none of it compared to the ache in her chest, the one that had deepened since her last breakup, a ghost of a woman who'd promised forever and delivered ghosts. The clock ticked past midnight, the ward quieting to a murmur of beeps and hushed prayers. Sam leaned against the nurse's station, sipping lukewarm coffee that tasted like regret, when the elevator dinged. Out stepped Taylor Voss, 35, an abstract painter whose canvases bled color into the gray of city life. Her leather jacket dusted with snow, a sketchpad tucked under her arm like a shield. Taylor's eyes, stormy blue, scanned the room with the intensity of someone chasing muses in fluorescent hell. She'd come for her sister, laid up with a sprained ankle from an ice skating mishap, but fate, or the Christmas elves, had other sketches in mind. Their eyes met across the linoleum, Sam's dark gaze locking with Taylor's, a current zipping through the sterile air. Taylor's lips curved in a half-smile, hesitant, her fingers drumming the sketchpad's edge, the soft thump-thump echoing like a heartbeat. "Room 412, she asked, voice low and husky, carrying the faint lilt of her Midwest roots transplanted to the chaos. Sam nodded, swallowing hard, the coffee burning her throat. "Yeah, down the hall. Need directions." But Taylor shook her head, stepping closer, close enough for Sam to catch the scent of oil paints and fresh snow. Earthy, alive, cutting through the antiseptic fog. "Actually, you look like you could use a break. I'm Taylor. Artist by day, holiday hero by. Well now." Sam's laugh escaped, surprising her. A breathy sound that eased the knot in her shoulders. "Sam. Nurse always. Breaks are myths around here." They lingered, the conversation sparking like flint on steel. Taylor describing a mural of winter constellations she'd abandoned, Sam sharing tales of patients who'd proposed under 4 drips. The air hummed with possibility, Jordan's laugh from earlier echoing faintly in Sam's mind. No, that was someone else's story bleeding through the walls. Taylor's hand brushed Sam's as she handed over a crumpled candy cane from her pocket, the peppermint sharp and sweet. "For luck," Taylor said, her eyes holding Sam's, deep and searching. The touch lingered, warm against the chill of doubt, as the ward's lights dimmed for the night shift, wrapping them in a cocoon of what-ifs. Up in Harlem, where brownstones glowed like lanterns against the dark, Riley Donovan paced her law office on 125th, the skyline a jagged silhouette beyond rain-streaked windows. 40, a powerhouse attorney specializing in family law. Ironic, given her own fractured history. Riley's silver-streaked blonde hair fell loose, her tailored suit rumpled from 14 hours of depositions. The room smelled of leather-bound case files and the faint citrus of her abandoned takeout. The clocks tick a relentless drumbeat against her temples. Christmas meant nothing to her anymore. Not since Casey left 2 years ago, taking their shared dreams and leaving a void filled with billable hours and bourbon neat. The phone buzzed, a text lighting the screen. "Outside. Let me in. Please." Riley's breath hitched, a sharp inhale that tasted of dust and desperation. Casey Monroe, 38, a best-selling author whose novels dissected love's sharp edges, stood on the stoop below, snowflakes catching in her chestnut waves, a manuscript clutched like a peace offering. Their story had been epic: fireworks at a book launch, stolen weekends in the Hamptons, whispers of rings under starlit skies. But Riley's ambition had built walls, Casey's words had become weapons, and one rainy afternoon, the door slammed shut. Riley's fingers hovered over the intercom, pulse thundering in her ears. The wind howled outside, rattling the panes like bones in a cage. "Why now?" she whispered to the empty room. But her body moved on instinct, buzzing Casey up. The elevator's groan announced her arrival, and there she was, raincoat dripping, eyes red-rimmed, voice breaking on the threshold. Riley. Finished it. The book. About us. The words hung, heavy as lead. Casey's hand extending the pages, fingers trembling. Riley took them, paper crinkling like dry leaves, the scent of fresh ink mingling with Casey's perfume. Jasmine, always jasmine, a ghost that haunted her dreams. The office felt vast and small all at once, the city lights flickering like faulty memories. Us, Riley repeated, voice gravelly, stepping closer until their breaths mingled, warm against the cold front pressing in. Casey's sigh was a fracture, soft and shattering, her free hand rising to trace Riley's jaw, calluses from pen grips rough against smooth skin. The touch unlocked something primal. A flood of heat low in Riley's belly, memories of tangled limbs and murmured vows. Outside a choir's "O Holy Night" swelled from a passing float, notes soaring high and pure, cutting through the tension. "Read it with me," Casey pleaded, eyes locking, vulnerable and fierce. Riley nodded, the dam breaking as they sank to the floor amid scattered files, pages turning like fragile wings, the night weaving its first thread of magic around them. As the clock struck 1, the snow thickened, a veil drawing the three pairs closer in the city's vast web. Alex and Jordan in their kitchen, knives forgotten as lips met in tentative forgiveness, the sizzle of onions hitting hot oil a soundtrack to reunion. Sam and Taylor in the hospital lounge, sketches blooming on napkins under dim lights, hands intertwining with the promise of colors yet unpainted. Riley and Casey on the office rug, words pouring out like confessions, bodies leaning in as the manuscript bridged the chasm. The Christmas night pulsed with enchantment, hearts sinking to its rhythm, the air alive with the scent of pine and possibility, sighs mingling with the hush of falling flakes. In the dim glow of string lights strung haphazardly across Alex's cramped kitchen, the bourbon bottle stood sentinel on the counter, its amber contents catching the flicker like liquid fire. Jordan's fingers wrapped around the neck, pouring 2 fingers into mismatched tumblers, the glug-glug a punctuation to the silence that had settled after their hallway collision. Alex watched, leaning against the fridge, the hum vibrating through her back like a second heartbeat. The room smelled of spilled oysters and the faint earthiness of figs, but underneath it all Jordan's presence, vanilla and vulnerability, dominated, pulling at Alex like gravity. "You kept the lights up," Jordan observed, handing over the glass, their fingers brushing again, deliberate this time, a spark that made Alex's skin prickle. The ornaments dangled from the exposed pipes overhead, twinkling with memories. The year they'd hung them together, laughing over spiked eggnog, Jordan's head on Alex's shoulder as they swayed to Dean Martin crooning on the radio. "Yeah," Alex replied, voice low, taking a sip that burned smooth down her throat. "Tradition. Or stubbornness. Take your pick." She set the glass down harder than intended, the clink sharp, echoing the crack in her resolve. The main conflict loomed unspoken. Why Jordan left, why Alex let her, why tonight felt like the eve of reckoning rather than redemption. Jordan sipped too, eyes closing briefly, a soft hum escaping as the warmth spread. "I was scared, Alex. Your world, it's so big so fast. I felt like I was just garnish." The words landed soft but slicing, Jordan's gaze dropping to the floor, where a fig had rolled under the table, its skin bruised. Alex's chest tightened, a sigh pushing out long and heavy, the sound filling the space like smoke. She crossed the room in 2 strides, cupping Jordan's face, thumbs wiping at the dampness gathering at her lashes. "You were never garnish. You were the damn meal." The kiss came fierce, hungry, lips crashing with the pent-up force of months apart, tasting bourbon and salt, tongues tangling in a dance of apology and need. Jordan's hands fisted in Alex's shirt, pulling her closer, bodies pressing against the counter's edge, the wood digging into hips as breaths came in gasps, ragged and real. They broke apart, foreheads touching, the world narrowing to the slick heat of shared air, the distant honk of a cab slicing through like a rude intruder. "Stay," Alex whispered, the plea raw, her fingers tracing Jordan's collarbone, feeling the rapid flutter beneath. Jordan nodded, a tear slipping free, warm on Alex's thumb. "Only if we talk. Really talk." They sank to the floor, backs against cabinets, knees touching, the bottle between them like a mediator. Words spilled then, Jordan's loneliness in the shadow of Alex's accolades, the promotion that meant 12-hour days and empty beds, Alex's fear of losing the one person who saw past the chef's whites to the woman who burned toast on purpose. Laughter bubbled through tears, a hiccuping release, as Jordan recounted the time Alex's smoke alarm serenade woke the super, both of them dashing out in underwear to fan the flames. The clock ticked toward 2, snow piling against the window, muffling the city's roar, wrapping their fragile bridge in white silence. Downtown, in the hospital's quiet corner lounge, vending machine fluorescents buzzed overhead like lazy fireflies. Sam unwrapped a granola bar, crumbs scattering on the formica table, her stomach twisting not from hunger but from the electric hum still lingering from Taylor's touch. Taylor sat across, legs crossed, sketchpad open, charcoal smudging her fingertips as she captured the curve of Sam's jaw on paper, the line of her neck, the way her scrubs clung from the night's sweat. "You have this quiet strength," Taylor said, not looking up, her voice a brushstroke itself, soft and deliberate. "Like you're holding back a storm." Sam flushed, the heat rising despite the draft from the AC vent, carrying the faint bleach whiff that never quite left these walls. The lounge door swung open sporadically, nurses shuffling in for coffee refills, their chatter a low murmur about shift trades and holiday blues. But Sam and Taylor existed in a bubble, the candy cane's wrapper crinkling under Sam's palm as she twirled it, the peppermint scent sharp against the stale air. "Storms scare me," Sam admitted, her voice barely above the hum, eyes on the sketch taking shape, her own face but softer seen. "Last relationship. She said I was too steady. Boring." The confession hung vulnerable, the vending machine's coin slot clinking as someone fed it quarters nearby. Taylor's pencil paused, her gaze lifting, intense, blue eyes holding Sam's like a lifeline. "Steady isn't boring. It's rare. Like finding the perfect hue in a sea of grays." Taylor slid the pad over, the image raw and alive, Sam's lips parting in awe at the captured emotion, the weariness in her eyes tempered by a hidden fire. Their hands met over the page, charcoal transferring in a dark smear, Taylor's thumb stroking Sam's knuckle in slow circles, sending shivers up her arm. The touch deepened, exploratory, as Taylor leaned in, breath warm on Sam's ear. "Let me show you a storm worth chasing." The kiss was tentative at first, lips brushing like whispers, then deepening with the urgency of strangers turned soulmates, tasting coffee and charcoal, tongues tentative then bold, the lounge fading to a distant echo. Sam's sigh melted into it, a soft release against Taylor's mouth, hands tangling in auburn waves, the world tilting on its axis. They pulled back, breathless, foreheads touching, the vending machine's soda can thudding down like applause. "Your sister's waiting," Sam murmured, reality intruding, but Taylor grinned, wicked and warm. "She can wait 5 more minutes. This is art in motion." They talked then, voices low, sharing fragments. Taylor's empty studio in Chelsea, canvases gathering dust from a creative drought. Sam's immigrant parents in Queens, their expectations a weight heavier than any gurney. Laughter came easy, Taylor mimicking a disastrous gallery opening where wine spilled on a critic's lapel, Sam's recounting a kid's visit turning into an impromptu puppet show with gauze. The night deepened, the lounge clock glowing 2:15, snow visible through the slats, falling thicker, as if the sky conspired to keep them grounded in this nascent glow. Up in the office, the manuscript lay open between Riley and Casey, pages splayed like spilled secrets across the Persian rug, illuminated by a desk lamp's golden pool. Riley's fingers traced a passage, Casey's words painting their first kiss under Brooklyn Bridge fireworks, the boom echoing in chests like thunder. "You captured it," Riley said, voice husky, the paper crinkling under her touch. The room smelled of rain-soaked wool and printer toner, but Casey's nearness overpowered it. Jasmine blooming in the close air, stirring ghosts Riley had lawyered away. Casey's knee pressed against hers, denim on wool, a steady pressure that anchored the whirlwind. "I had to," Casey replied, her breath catching, a soft exhale as she shifted closer, the rug's fibers rough against her palms. "You were my muse. Still are." The admission cracked the air, Riley's heart stuttering, memories assaulting. Lazy Sundays in bed, Casey's pen scratching while Riley reviewed briefs, the shared pot of tea going cold. But the conflict roared back, the affair rumor that shattered trust, Casey's jealousy flaring into accusations, Riley's walls slamming up like courtroom gavels. "You wrote me as the villain," Riley said, not accusation but ache, flipping to a dog-eared page where her ambition devoured love whole. Casey's hand covered hers, warm and insistent, thumb stroking the back in soothing arcs. "No. As the hero who forgot her lines." The kiss ignited then, slow burning like embers fanned to flame. Lips meeting soft, then urgent, tongues tracing apologies in salt and need. Riley's sigh vibrated against Casey's mouth, hands roaming up her back, bunching fabric, feeling the heat of skin beneath. They tumbled sideways, manuscript scattering like leaves in wind, bodies aligning in familiar rhythm, breath sinking in gasps that fogged the lamp's glow. Casey's fingers threaded through Riley's hair, tugging gently, eliciting a moan low and raw, the sound swallowed in the press of mouths. Outside, the choir's echoes faded, replaced by the steady patter of snow on ledges, a rhythmic hush urging them deeper into forgiveness. They surfaced, tangled and trembling, Casey's head on Riley's chest, listening to the thunderous beat beneath. "I never stopped loving you," Casey whispered, voice muffled, tears wetting Riley's shirt. Riley's arm tightened, a vow in the squeeze. "Then rewrite the ending. With me." Words flowed after, Casey's book tour isolation, Riley's courtroom victories masking hollow nights. Laughter pierced the dark, Casey imitating Riley's fierce cross-examinations over burnt toast, Riley teasing Casey's dramatic plot twists in bed. The clock chimed 3, the city asleep under its white shroud. As the night wove their threads tighter, magic simmering in the spaces between heartbeats. Dawn crept in slow over the East River, painting the sky in bruised purples and hesitant golds, the snow relenting to a misty veil that clung to fire escapes like reluctant lovers. In Alex's apartment, the kitchen bore the scars of midnight revelations. Empty tumblers on the sill, fig peels curling on the cutting board, the air thick with the musk of spent passion and cooling espresso. Alex stirred a pot of oatmeal, the wooden spoon scraping rhythmic against cast iron, steam rising in lazy curls that carried cinnamon and the faint, intimate salt of their bodies. Jordan padded in barefoot, sweater slipping off one shoulder, her steps soft on the linoleum, a sleepy smile breaking as she wrapped arms around Alex from behind, chin resting on her shoulder. "Morning," Jordan murmured, lips brushing the shell of Alex's ear, breath warm and tickling, sending a shiver down her spine despite the stove's heat. Alex leaned back, savoring the press of curves, the way Jordan's heartbeat synced with hers, a steady thump-thump against her back. "Merry almost Christmas," Alex replied, voice gravelly from late whispers and earlier cries, turning her head for a kiss that lingered, soft and unhurried, tasting of sleep and sweetness. The conflict's embers still glowed. Trust to rebuild, schedules to mesh. But in this golden hour it felt surmountable, like a root thickening under patient flame. They ate cross-legged on the floor, bowls balanced on knees, spoons clinking as stories tumbled out anew. Jordan described her classroom's holiday play, kids in elf hats mangling lines with gleeful chaos, her laughter bright as the rising light filtering through blinds. Alex shared a bistro mishap, a flambé gone wild, flames licking the ceiling, patrons cheering like it was Cirque du Soleil. The sounds wove around them, distant horns bleating in traffic, a neighbor's radio crooning White Christmas. The spoons scrape a counterpoint to their sighs of contentment. Jordan's foot nudged Alex's, playful, toes tracing calf muscles honed from kitchen marathons, the touch igniting lazy sparks. "Promise me mornings like this," Jordan said, eyes serious over the bowl's rim, vulnerability raw. Alex set her spoon down, cupping Jordan's face, thumb stroking cheekbones. "Every day. No more space." The kiss sealed it, deepening with the weight of vows, bodies shifting closer, bowls forgotten as hands explored familiar terrain. The city's awakening, a distant chorus to their private symphony. Across the river in Brooklyn, sunlight slanted through Taylor's studio windows, gilding canvases stacked like forgotten promises against brick walls. Sam stood in the doorway, scrubs traded for borrowed jeans and a paint-smeared tee. Her hair loose in waves that caught the light, turning black to raven sheen. The space smelled of turpentine and fresh coffee, turpentine sharp, coffee grounding, mingling with the faint ozone of last night's storm. Taylor's sister discharged at dawn, but Sam had lingered, drawn by the pull of unfinished sketches. Taylor looked up from her easel, charcoal stick paused mid-stroke, her face alight with a grin that crinkled her eyes. "You came," she said, voice laced with wonder, setting the stick down with a soft clack on the stool. "Couldn't not," Sam replied, stepping in, the door clicking shut behind her, sealing out the world's clamor. Her pulse quickened, the room's intimacy pressing in. The half-finished mural of swirling galaxies on the far wall. Paint splatters on the floor like abstract confetti. Taylor crossed the space, hands flecked with black, cupping Sam's face gently, thumbs tracing jawline as if memorizing. "You're my new favorite subject." The kiss was morning fresh, lips soft, tongues lazy with exploration. Sam's hands sliding under Taylor's tank, feeling the warmth of skin, the rise of ribs with each shared breath. A sigh escaped Sam, melting into Taylor's mouth, the sound vibrating sweet and needy, bodies swaying like reeds in wind. They broke apart, breathless, Taylor's forehead to Sam's, noses brushing. "Show me how you see the world," Sam whispered, eyes on the easel. A burst of color suggesting dawn over chaos, her own silhouette emerging from the fray. Taylor pulled her closer to the canvas, hand over hand guiding the brush, dipping it in cerulean, the stroke bold and wet, paint cool against Sam's fingers. Laughter bubbled as blue smeared cheeks, Taylor's tongue darting to lick a streak from Sam's neck, eliciting a gasp that echoed off the beams. The morning unfolded in strokes and touches. Talk of dreams, Taylor's fear of blank pages mirroring Sam's dread of quiet nights. Shared bites of toast slathered in jam, sticky fingers tracing patterns on thighs. The sun climbed higher, bells tolling from a nearby church, a resonant peal that vibrated through floorboards, urging them toward the day's magic, hands intertwined, colors blooming where gray once reigned. In Midtown, Riley's office transformed under daylight scrutiny, case files stacked neat as sentinels, the manuscript now a talisman on her desk, pages dog-eared from nights devouring. Casey lounged in the client chair, legs tucked under, a legal pad balanced on knee, scribbling notes with a pen that clicked rhythmically, the sound a steady pulse against the hum of the copier down the hall. The air carried coffee's roast and the crisp linen of Riley's fresh shirt, but Casey's jasmine lingered, a thread pulling Riley from her computer screen. "You're staring," Casey teased, glancing up, her smile sly, eyes sparkling with the mischief of old. "Guilty," Riley admitted, leaning back, chair creaking like a confession, her gaze tracing the curve of Casey's neck, the way sunlight haloed her hair. The night's raw edges softened in this light, the arguments aired, hurts lanced, but the core tension pulsed. Could words mend what ambition tore? Riley rose, rounding the desk, perching on its edge, knee brushing Casey's. "What are you writing?" Casey's pen paused, click click. Then she turned the pad, revealing a scene them in this very office, snow falling beyond, hands clasped over contracts of the heart. "Our epilogue." The words hung tender, Casey's free hand rising to Riley's thigh, fingers splaying warm, possessive. Riley covered it, squeezing, the pressure grounding, her sigh long and releasing, breath stirring Casey's bangs. "Make it messy. Real." The kiss followed, unhurried, lips parting slow, tongues delving with the depth of rediscovery. Tasting ink and resolve, Casey's moan soft against Riley's throat as hands wandered, unbuttoning with deliberate tugs. They shifted, Casey standing to press Riley back against the desk, papers rustling in protest, the wood cool under Riley's palms. Breaths came in harmonies, gasps punctuating the rhythm. The city's midday rush, a muffled roar below, horns blaring like applause. "I need you," Casey breathed, forehead to Riley's, eyes locked fierce. "All of you." They talked between touches, voices husky. Casey's stalled novel reignited by Riley's fire. Riley's caseload lightened by Casey's insight into human fractures. Laughter rang out, Casey mimicking a judge's gavel with a stapler, clunk clunk. Riley retorting with a dramatic soliloquy from Casey's book, words tumbling exaggerated. The clock neared noon, sunlight streaming bold, as church bells joined the fray, a carillon cascade weaving through skyscrapers, binding their mourning in resonant promise, bodies and souls aligning under the watchful sky. By midday, the city thrummed alive, but the three pairs moved in syncopated grace. Alex and Jordan bundling into coats for a park stroll, mittened hands swinging, breaths puffing white clouds of shared jokes. Sam and Taylor wandering the bridge, wind-whipping scarves, sketches tucked safe, eyes promising canvases of flesh. Riley and Casey lunching at a corner deli, knees touching under formica, manuscripts and briefs mingling like old friends. The snow's melt revealed pavements slick with slush, but hearts burned steady. The magical night lingering in daylight's embrace, emotions cresting like waves on the Hudson's tide. Afternoon shadows stretched long across the park's paths, skeletal trees clawing at the pale sky, their branches heavy with remnant snow that sifted down in lazy drifts with each gust. Alex and Jordan wove through the crowd, families lugging sleds, joggers pounding slushy trails, their boots crunching in unison, a gritty rhythm underfoot that matched the tentative beat of their mended hearts. The air nipped sharp, laced with hot dog vendors' mustard tang and the distant bark of dogs chasing frisbees, but Jordan's gloved hand in Alex's warmed deeper, fingers interlacing tight, a silent anchor against the wind's whine. They paused at a bench by the frozen pond, steam rising from paper cups of cider clutched between them, the cinnamon spice curling visible, warming palms through cardboard. "Remember our first winter here?" Jordan asked, voice soft over the skater's blades scraping ice, a shrill harmony of joy and near misses. Alex nodded, sipping, the liquid scalding sweet down her throat. "You slipped, face planted right into a snowbank. Came up with pine needles in your hair like a deranged elf." Laughter spilled, Jordan's head tipping back, throat exposed, the sound bright and freeing, pulling Alex in for a quick kiss, chapped lips meeting soft, cider's warmth lingering in the exchange. But the ease cracked open deeper wounds. Jordan's eyes shadowed, cider forgotten as she set it down, steam dissipating like doubts. "I left because I thought you'd outgrow me," she confessed, voice cracking on the wind, hands squeezing Alex's harder, knuckles whitening. "Your reviews, the offers for Michelin spots. I saw myself fading." Alex's chest constricted, a sigh heaving out heavy, visible in the chill, her free hand rising to tuck a stray auburn lock behind Jordan's ear, thumb lingering on the pulse there, rapid, real. "Never. You're the flavor I crave after every shift." The words bridged raw, pulling them closer on the bench, shoulders bumping, the pond's scrape fading to background as tears pricked, one slipping free to freeze on Jordan's cheek. Alex thumbed it away, the touch turning tender, lips finding the spot in a kiss that deepened, urgent against the cold, tongues seeking heat, breaths mingling in foggy bursts, bodies leaning in defiance of the encroaching dusk. They pulled apart, flushed, Jordan's laugh watery. Public indecency citation incoming. Alex grinned, standing, tugging her up. "Worth it." They wandered on, talk turning to futures, Jordan's spring break trip idea. A cabin upstate with no cell service. Alex's vow to clock out by 8 twice a week. The sun dipped lower, gilding the skyline as a street musician's guitar strummed, "Have yourself a merry little Christmas." Notes plucking at heartstrings, wrapping their steps in melody, the afternoon's conflicts yielding to evening's glow. In Chelsea's galleries, sunlight poured through skylights, bouncing off white walls to illuminate Taylor's latest exhibit. A riot of abstracts evoking urban auroras, colors bleeding bold. Sam trailed her, hand in Taylor's, palms sweaty despite the draft from an open-loading door, the space echoing with murmurs of critics sipping Chardonnay from plastic flutes, clinks punctuating low debates. The air hummed with varnish and pretension, undercut by Taylor's nervous fidget, fingers twisting her bracelet, a silver cuff etched with constellations. "This one's yours," Taylor whispered, nodding to a canvas of swirling indigos and golds, a figure emerging ethereal from storm clouds. Sam's breath caught, the image stirring something visceral, the night's kiss rendered in pigment, her strength captured fierce. "You're brilliant," Sam said, voice hushed under the chatter, squeezing Taylor's hand, feeling the tremor ease. But doubt flickered in Taylor's eyes, wine glass trembling as she lifted it. What if they hate it? Last show tanked my confidence. The vulnerability hit Sam like a code blue. Her nurse's instinct kicking in. Steady, reassuring. She pulled Taylor to a shadowed alcove, backs to the wall, the cool plaster grounding. They won't. Because it's true. The kiss claimed then, bold amid the elite, lips fierce, hands cupping necks, Taylor's sigh melting into Sam's mouth, a soft vibration that drowned the room's buzz. Tongues danced urgent, bodies pressing close, the alcove's seclusion amplifying each gasp, wine forgotten as it sloshed over rims. Emerging flushed, critics none the wiser, Taylor's grin returned wicked. My muse strikes again. They mingled after, Sam's arm looped in Taylor's, banter flowing. Teasing a pompous reviewer's bow tie, Sam sharing her absurdities like a patient's toe tag mix-up. Laughter peeled, Taylor's head on Sam's shoulder during a slow pan of the room, breath sinking to the gallery's pulse. Dusk crept in, lights dimming to spotlit drama, as a violinist solo wove through, strings sighing like lovers, binding their afternoon in strokes of color and connection, conflicts of self-doubt fading to shared canvas. Midtown streets bustled with pre-dinner rush, neon signs flickering alive against twilight's bruise, the scent of pretzels and exhaust heavy in the air. Riley and Casey ducked into a jazz club on 52nd, sax notes spilling out warm like spilled honey, drawing them into the velvet curtain dimness. Booths hugged walls papered in faded posters, candles guttering on tables, wax dripping slow. They slid into a corner, knees knocking under scarred wood, Casey's manuscript peeking from her bag like a co-conspirator. To epilogues, Riley toasted with club soda fizzing over ice, clink of glasses sharp, effervescent. Casey leaned in, eyes gleaming in candlelight. Ours better have plot twists. But beneath the flirt, tension simmered. Riley's phone buzzing with work alerts, Casey's fingers drumming the table, a Morse code of unspoken fears. You're checking it again, Casey noted, voice gentle but edged, hand stilling Riley's on the device. The sax wailed low then, a mournful bend that tugged at Riley's throat, her sigh-long chair creaking as she shifted. Habit. Protecting what we built. Alone. Casey's gaze softened, hurt flickering. But not anymore. She covered Riley's hand, thumb circling soothing, pulling it to her lips for a kiss. Soft on knuckles, lingering, heat blooming despite the cool draft from the door. The kiss evolved, Riley leaning across the table, lips meeting Casey's in the booth's intimacy, tasting lime and longing, tongues slow and deep, the club's murmur fading to a hush around their gasps. Casey's hand tangled in Riley's hair, tugging light, eliciting a moan swallowed in the press, body straining against the divide. The saxophonist segued to the nearness of you. Notes curling intimate, mirroring their rhythm. They broke apart, breathless, Casey's laugh husky. Scandal in the stacks. Riley grinned, pocketing the phone decisively. Talk turned vital. Riley's sabbatical dreams, Casey's agent calls for joint projects. Laughter erupted over Casey's exaggerated reading of a steamy scene, voice dropping low, Riley's foot hooking Casey's ankle under the table, playful anchor. Twilight deep into night, club lights pulsing like heartbeats, as the trio of tales converged in the city's nocturnal embrace. Alex and Jordan queuing for a tree lot, sawdust crunching, laughter over lopsided picks. Sam and Taylor on a rooftop, city sprawl below, paints drying in the chill. Riley and Casey swaying on the dance floor, bodies flush, jazz weaving spells. The magical Christmas night swelled, emotions peaking in crescendos of touch and truth, snowflakes teasing windows like conspirators. Evening cloaked the city in velvet black, stars winking faint through light pollution's haze. The skyline a constellation of steel and glass pulsing with holiday fervor. Alex's bistro in Soho thrummed with diners, clatter of silverware and low jazz from speakers weaving through the aroma of seared scallops and sage. In the kitchen's heart, Alex moved like a conductor, knife flashing silver as she julienned carrots. The crisp snap punctuating orders barked over the sizzle of pans. Jordan hovered at the pass, sleeves rolled, her presence a calm eddy in the storm, eyes tracking Alex's every pivot, a smile tugging when their gazes locked amid the chaos. Table 4's comped, Alex called, plating a risotto with truffle shavings snowing down, the earthy scent rising steam-kissed. Jordan nodded, slipping the ticket into her apron, but lingered, hip-bumping Alex's in the narrow aisle, a deliberate brush that sent heat flaring low. "You're a force," Jordan murmured, voice cutting through the din. Hand grazing Alex's wrist, thumb stroking the pulse point. Rapid, alive. The touch lingered, electric, until a server's behind shattered it, Jordan stepping back with a wink. But as the rush peaked, conflict resurfaced. A critic at table 2, pen poised, Alex's perfectionism spiking tension, her shoulders hunching under the white jacket's weight. Plates flew out, Jordan weaving front of house with grace, but Alex caught her eye from the expo, a silent plea amid the fray. Break came at 8, the kitchen emptying to staff smokes in the alley, leaving them alone in the fluorescent glow. Alex slumped against the fridge, exhale ragged, the door's hum vibrating through her bones. "What if it's not enough?" she voiced the fear, voice cracking, hands flexing open-closed, calluses rough. Jordan closed the distance, palms cupping her face, cool against fevered skin. "It is. You are." The kiss anchored, fierce and forgiving, lips claiming, tongues urgent with the night's undercurrent. Alex's sigh breaking soft, hands fisting Jordan's shirt, pulling flush. Bodies aligned, counter-digging hips, breaths gasping in sync. The alley's muffled chatter a world away. They surfaced, foreheads touching, Jordan's fingers combing sweat-damp curls. "We're enough." Dinner service resumed, but lighter now, Jordan's laugh carrying from the floor. Alex's plating infused with ease. Closing time brought them to the rooftop, city lights sprawling below. Wind whipping scarves as they shared a flask of bourbon, burned smooth. Talk drifting to tomorrow's. Joint cooking classes, Jordan's tenure track. Laughter mingled with sighs, a busker's trumpet tooting Santa Baby. From the street, notes saucy and sweet, as the evening's climax built in shared glances, magic thickening the air. Williamsburg's warehouses loomed shadowed, graffiti walls glowing under street lamps, amber pools. The East River lapping dark against piers. Taylor's hand gripped Sam's tight as they navigated the art crawl, galleries spilling laughter and wine onto sidewalks slick with melt. The air buzzed electric, cigar smoke curling, bass from a loft party thumping low, mingling with the river's brine. Sam's scrubs were long gone, swapped for a borrowed leather jacket that smelled of Taylor's studio, her steps tentative amid the crowd's swirl, pulse hammering with the thrill of newness. "This way," Taylor urged, pulling her into a pop-up space, walls alive with projections of swirling lights, bodies moving fluid in the strobes. Music pulsed, a DJ's beat dropping heavy, vibrating through salls. Taylor spun Sam into the fray, hands on hips guiding sway, breaths close over the din. "Dance with me," she breathed, lips to ear warm against lobe. Sam's laugh bubbled free, body loosening, hips rolling tentative then bold. Taylor's thigh slipping between, friction sparking heat. Their eyes locked in the flash, intensity building, the crowd a blur as hands roamed. Taylor's up Sam's back, Sam's in auburn waves, tugging to claim a kiss mid-beat. Lips crashed, hungry, tongues tangling to the rhythm. Sam's moan lost in the bass, bodies grinding close, sweat beating despite the chill seeping through cracks. Doubt crept in the afterglow, Sam pulling back, voice small over the thump. "I'm not this wild." Taylor's gaze held steady, hands framing her face, thumbs stroking cheeks. "You are. With me." They danced on, talk weaving through moves. Sam's shift horrors, Taylor's blank canvas nights. Laughter erupting when a tipsy artist photobombed their twirl. The night crested at midnight, rooftop view of bridges lit like veins, flask passed, breaths puffing white. As a fiddler reel cut the air, strings flying frantic, mirroring their heart's wild sync, conflicts of inexperience yielding to passion's tide. The plaza's lobby glittered opulent, chandeliers dripping crystal fire over marble floors polished to mirrors, the scent of orchids and old money heavy. Riley and Casey slipped in from the cold, coats shedding snow, the doorman's nod deferential as he waved them to the palm court. Tables draped white, palms arching like sentinels, a pianist's ivories tinkling winter wonderland soft. They claimed a banquet, knees brushing immediate, Casey's foot hooking Riley's calf under the linen, a playful claim. Candlelight danced on silver, menus crisp but eyes devoured deeper. "You planned this," Riley accused, smile tugging, voice low as the waiter poured water, glasses chiming. Casey's grin flashed, wicked. Guilty. Like old times. But the evening's underbelly stirred. Riley's ex texting mid-appetizer. A custody case flaring. Her fork pausing mid-air, jaw tightening. Casey noticed, hand sliding over hers on the tablecloth, squeeze firm. "Here. Now." The touch grounded, Riley's sigh easing out, the pianist shifting to "at last." Notes swelling romantic, pulling them into sway on the parquet floor. Bodies flush, Riley's hand low on Casey's back. Casey's cheek to shoulder, breath sinking to the melody. The dance deep in intimacy, Riley's lips to Casey's temple, whisper hot. "I almost lost you." Casey's response was a turn, faces inches, eyes fierce. "Not again." The kiss ignited there, amid the swirl, lips soft then demanding, tongues delving slow. A gasp shared as hands pressed spines, the court's murmur fading to applause in their ears. Back at table, desserts arrived, tiramisu layered rich. But talk turned pivotal, Casey's fork tracing Riley's palm, sweet on skin. Laughter followed over Casey's plot hole rants, Riley's courtroom one-liners. The pianist's encore, a sultry sax join in, brass bending low and longing. Midnight tolled from distant clocks, the lobby's clock chiming resonant, as tales intertwined in festive threads. Alex's bistro emptying to rooftop toasts, Jordan's head on shoulder. Sam's dance floor spins to bridge walks, Taylor's arms secure. Riley's court waltzes to sweet ascents, Casey's hand laced. The magical night peaked, emotions crashing in waves of revelation. Snow resuming its whisper, blanketing climaxes in hush. The witching hour blanketed Manhattan in profound quiet. Snow falling thick now, muffling horns to whispers, the skyline softened to a dreamscape of blurred lights. Alex and Jordan climbed the fire escape to their roof, blanket dragged up, the metal rungs cold and slick under gloves, laughter echoing soft as they settled against the chimney's warmth. City sprawled below like a glittering quilt. The air bit crisp, pine from a distant tree lot carrying faint, mingling with the wool of their scarves and the lingering spice of dinner's remnants on breaths. Jordan nestled into Alex's side, head on shoulder, the weight perfect, grounding. "Look," Alex murmured, pointing to a star piercing the veil, voice hushed reverent, arm tightening around Jordan's waist, fingers splaying possessive over hip. Jordan tilted up, eyes reflecting the twinkle, her sigh content, warm against Alex's neck. Wishes. But reflection stirred the night's arc, the hallway spill, raw confessions, passions forge. Conflicts of space and speed tempered in love's fire. "I wish for us steady," Jordan voiced, hand finding Alex's, interlacing, thumbs stroking in tandem. Alex turned, capturing lips in a kiss slow and sealing. Tongues gentle, breaths mingling deep. The rooftops chill, forgotten in shared heat. Bodies shifting under blanket, legs entwining, sighs weaving with the snow's hush. They talk stars to dawn, futures sketched in constellations. Jordan's classroom tales inspiring Alex's menu twists. Laughter bubbling over imagined kid chef collapse. The sky lightened gradual, first birdsong trilling tentative. A new day's promise. As church bells pealed distant, resonant joy. Their story closing in embrace. Meaningful in mended wholeness. Brooklyn Heights promenade overlooked the harbor. Lights dancing on black water. Ferries' horns low and lonesome. Sam and Taylor leaned on the railing, city hum a lullaby. The rail's iron chill seeping through coats, but hands clasped banished it, palms calloused, Sam's from bandages, Taylor's from brushes, fitting puzzle-like. Snowflakes caught in Taylor's lashes, melting slow, her gaze on Sam profound, voice soft overlapping waves. "You changed everything. One night." Sam's heart swelled, pulse thrumming, the night's whirlwind replaying. Hospital spark, studio strokes, dance floor fire. Inexperience's shadow banished by Taylor's light. "Magic," she agreed, leaning in, forehead to Taylor's, breaths puffing synchronized. The kiss bloomed tender, lips parting sweet, tongues tracing gratitude. Sam's hand cupping nape, Taylor's sighing into the touch, a vibration pure. Bodies pressed rail clothes, wind whipping hair, the harbor's murmur underscoring gasps. love's crescendo fading to calm. Dawn crept, painting water rose gold, talk turning to canvases shared. Sam modeling for portraits, Taylor visiting our shifts for inspiration. Laughter rang over a seagull's cry, mimicking its squawk, arms wrapping tight. Bells tolled from a spire, clear and calling, their tale resolving in union, meaningful in discovered depths. The penthouse suite overlooked the park, windows vast framing snow-draped meadows, fireplace crackling low, logs popping sparks that danced like fireflies. Riley and Casey tangled on the fur rug, wine glasses nearby, Cabernet's berry tang on tongues, the room aglow in firelight, shadows playing long on walls papered silk. Casey's head pillowed on Riley's chest, fingers tracing collarbone lazy, the heartbeat beneath steady, a rhythm reclaimed. "You rewrote us," Riley whispered, voice rough with emotion. Hand combing chestnut waves, the silk slip cool under palms. Casey's lift met hers, eyes deep. "We did." The arc flashed, manuscripts bridge, dances claims, kisses vows. Ambition's walls crumbled in vulnerability's flood. The kiss reignited slow, lips savoring, tongues deep with finality. Riley's sigh breaking free, hands roaming curves, Casey's arching into touch, flames mirroring their heat, breaths harmonizing in the heart's glow. Morning light filtered, gilding skin, talk weaving plans, co-authored lives, sabbaticals in cottages, laughter over plot twists domestic. The clock chimed 6, bells joining from below. A symphony of renewal, their story culminating in meaning, love's legacy etched eternal. As sun rose full, the three loves converged in the dawn's embrace. Rooftop, promenade, suite, snow ceasing, city awakening to their harmony. Hearts full, conflicts conquered, the magical Christmas night birthed endings profound. Forgiveness forged, passions kindled, bonds unbreakable. In New York's endless pulse they stood woven, lives illuminated. The holiday's enchantment lingering in every shared breath. A testament to love's quiet miracles.